All right, let's get into it. We're going to dive into a really raw and powerful testimony about what happens when you hit a wall in a relationship. That feeling of total burnout. We're going to explore this journey from giving it your all to just being completely exhausted and really figure out what happens when you pour your heart and soul into someone who just isn't ready for it. So, we're actually starting at the end here with this declaration. This isn't a quiet thought, is it? This is a full on, I've had enough, scream into the void. It's that moment you realize the emotional well has just run completely, totally dry. So, what gets a person to this point of just total surrender? It's almost never one big thing. It's more like a slow burn, right? It's this accumulation of emotional debt that just keeps piling up and piling up until you can't carry it anymore. And that's the thing. This isn't really about just one bad relationship. It's about spotting a destructive pattern. She's just tired of being a caretaker instead of a partner, of trying to patch up wounds that she had absolutely nothing to do with creating. And here we go. This is the list. It's like a greatest hits of draining relationship dynamics. You see narcissists, the ones who think the world revolves around them and have zero empathy. Then you've got gaslighters who are experts at making you feel like you're the crazy one. Every single item on this list is just another flavor of emotional work that has left her completely and utterly wiped out. Okay, so how does this burnout actually build up? Let's take a look at the first major pattern she points out. Dating someone who's basically still in a fight with the ghost of their last relationship. Wow, yeah. This is such a key insight. She's describing being judged not for who she is, but as a stand-in for his ex. She's basically shadowboxing with a memory. And let's be real, that is a fight you can never, ever win. This lays out a really powerful psychological thing that happens: projection. It's when someone takes all their own junk, their fears, their insecurities, and just puts it on you. So on one side, you have his reality, which is all twisted and distorted by his past trauma. And on the other, you have hers, where she's totally innocent, but is constantly being put on trial for crimes she never committed. All right, the next pattern she gets into is those relationships that feel less like a partnership and more like a one-woman show, where all the energy, all the effort is flowing in just one direction. And this is the question, isn't it? This is the core question for anyone who's ever been trapped in that dynamic where they're expected to do all the emotional heavy lifting. It's that moment you look over and realize you're the only one rowing the boat. You can break this whole emotional game down into a really predictable and, frankly, toxic cycle. It's not a relationship, it's an audition. She has to constantly perform and prove her worth just to get him to engage. And the result? She's left totally exhausted while he gets to sit back and feel secure. And here she connects that one-sided effort to this really frustrating dynamic. She feels like she's been forced into the role of the pursuer, the one who has to make all the moves, who has to initiate everything. This constant chase puts her into this energetic role that just feels totally draining and unnatural. But at the end of the day, this isn't just about who's putting in more effort. It's about a total lack of mature communication. Instead of just having a direct adult conversation, he's posting these vague, passive-aggressive things online. And for her, that's just childish, it's manipulative, and it's a total deal breaker. So now we get to what is probably the most painful part of this whole story. It's about a marriage that really shows the ultimate devastating cost of loving someone who is unhealed and, in the end, just completely untrustworthy. Looking at this timeline, it's not just a list of dates. It's a map of her deep, deep investment. You can see a whole life being built, piece by piece, over 6 years. Marriage, 2 kids, a future they were supposed to have together. And it's the depth of this commitment that makes what happens next so absolutely shuddering. She wasn't just a passive partner here. She was all in. She's learning new skills for him. She's supporting his career. She's managing his life. She completely devoted herself to making him happy and successful. This is a picture of total, absolute commitment. And this was the payoff for all that devotion. The betrayal wasn't just that he cheated. It was the layers of it all. He cheated with the exact same ex he always complained about, with a prostitute, with multiple other people. This goes way beyond just breaking trust. This is a complete demolition of the reality she thought she was living in. So after all of this pain, After going through this cycle of exhaustion over and over again, she finally reaches a really powerful and clear conclusion. And it's not about blaming herself anymore, it's about finally understanding the dynamic for what it is. She lands on this one core idea: hurt people hurt people. Now, let's be clear, this doesn't excuse his behavior at all, but it does explain it. The pain she was put through, it wasn't really about her. It was just a symptom of his own unresolved trauma being passed along. And this, right here, is the key takeaway. It's such a profound shift in thinking. Their inability to love you the way you deserve to be loved, it isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their own brokenness, their own incapacity. And with that realization comes empowerment. The focus totally shifts from his brokenness to her own value. She's not a victim of his damage anymore. She's a survivor who knows her own worth, completely separate from how he treated her. So this whole explainer leaves us with a really critical question to think about. It kind of challenges all of us to look at our own relationships and ask, where's the line? The line between being a loving, supportive partner and just self-destructive sacrifice. That's a powerful thought to end on.